Hello and welcome to another edition of Santos on Sports, along with my partner, Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Welcome in. Yes, we have a good question of the day, and I think this is going to be a controversial one. So I'm really interested to see what my friend Chris thinks and what you think. But first of all, let's thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in the great city of Fall River, citywide glass with 3 locations to serve you at 425 State Road in Dartmouth, additional locations in Taunton and Fall River. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, where you can play tennis and pickleball. And John Seed, our good friend, who sponsors this show and my other show. So a really great friend. We see him once in a while. John B. Seed, 156th 8th Street in New Bedford. And you can check his website out at johnseedlaw.com. So, Chris, how are you doing today?
Good, Paul. I know it's been a while for me and you. You were away, then I went away. You had some things going on. So we're back. It's good to be back. With Celtics and Bruins winding down their season, getting ready for playoffs. And then we come back, obviously, with the April football draft and free agency right around the corner as well. So a lot going on, but yeah, definitely Celtics talk today. And hopefully people can call in and talk about our question of the day. Who is better, Jason Tatum or Luka Doncic? So if you got an answer for that, 774-762-6234, give us a call and go ahead, Paul. You know, I am all for what you have to say.
You think you know what I'm going to say?
Yes.
Well, let me just start with this. If the question was, who do you want taking the last shot? Well, then it would be no problem at all. You know, okay. Doncic has shown that he's money at the end of these games, can hit like a deep three, you know, just has this thing right here. You know what I'm saying? He has this thing right here. Tatum, look, the other night, 19 seconds left in the game, comes up the court, he's dribbling the ball, boom, 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 dribbling the ball. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. We've seen this movie before. You're really going to just dribble the ball, and then take like a fadeaway, you know, and then fall down like somebody like knock you over while you clank it off the rim for like, got to be the 7th or 8th time we've seen this year. Just absolutely ridiculous. So I'm upset because, you know, Tatum has been playing more like a team guy lately than he was a couple of years ago. But you get into these situations where somebody's got to take the last shot. Why does it always have to be Tatum? This isn't like, oh, it's Michael Jordan's team. Well, it's, you know, LeBron's team. Oh, this is Tatum's team. It's a bunch of nonsense, you know? Just to dribble the ball and take that fade away. He almost could have like gone to the basket, for God's sakes. I don't know what he was doing. So I didn't like that. It irritated me. And then when I look at Luka, I think Tatum's better defensively than Luka. But I got to tell you, if I was going to pick a team and I was going to start with one guy or the other, I think I'm going to take Luka. What say you?
Well, if you're going by, obviously, the stats that you talk about, Doncic is way ahead of Tatum this year. But you got to look at the two teams and what is put in front of you. Dallas, 8th in the Western Conference. He's got nothing besides Kyrie Irving. And Luka's played 55 games. Irvin's only played 40. And I don't even know the rest of the team on Dallas. So, of course, they rely on Luka to do everything. And that's why he's averaging 34 and 10 rebounds. You know, the guy does it all because it's basically just him out there. Now, the Celtics are a little bit different. You have Brown. You have Porzingis. You got a couple of good players there. You know, you add in, obviously, what's going on with the other guys in White and Holiday. So there's a little bit more to spread the ball around and how that seems to work out. But overall gameplay, physicality, and what I've seen, I would probably take Doncic myself. I like what I see out of him. He's a big guy, physical guy, not afraid to take it to the paint. And do the things that he does. Now, I know you find that surprising, Paul, that I said Doncic, but you came up with a scenario the other night. My scenario is I blame half coaching and half Tatum because coaching needs to be better down the stretch. They have to make plays. They got to set picks. They have to find a way to be better in clutch time. Now, stats will show of 25 players in the NBA right now who have taken 45 or more clutch shots. Right now, Jason Tatum is last at number 25. He's 15 for 46 at 32.6 in clutch times. The Celtics as a team to tie the game or have a chance to win the game this year, they're 1 for 11 as a team. 1 for 11 as a team. That's terrible. They need to be better in clutch time down the stretch. Now, you said dribble the ball, dribble the ball, dribble the ball, dribble the ball. Jason Tatum is in the top 5 of going to the basket and scoring points. Why do you not go to the basket at the end of the game to score points? He had a mismatch on him. He took the step on him. He should have went to the basket. He changed his mind, and when he did, the double team came over, and he wants to put this fadeaway shots. 1, I'll blame him. 2, I blame the play call. You had 19 seconds, Paul, to make something happen there. 19. They wasted 13 of it, and they told him to go with 6. I don't like it. I haven't liked it from the beginning. It's going to be nothing but issues and problems if they continue to do it. They need to be better, and I blame 50% Missoula, 50% Tatum.
Well, it's interesting that you're taking Doncic. Yes, I think that's very good. I find that to be a little bit of a relief that we're on the same side on this one, because I know you're a fan of Tatum. The man has tremendous talent. But, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I don't have all the stats like you do, but it's the eyeball test. I'm starting to know how much in these games, and the same thing happens at the end every time. When it's a 1-point game or a tie game and there's just a few seconds left, Tatum always has the ball, never does anything with it, tries to take a fade away, like to make like a highlight reel shot. And it almost feels like, he's kind of looking at that MVP, and he's almost like, putting himself out there to be MVP. And I don't know if he even has like a video of a shot at the buzzer. You know what I mean? You can go back and, find videos of Larry Bird or Michael Jordan or whatever hitting that last shot. Doncic has done it a bunch of times. He did it to us. He did it to the Celtics. There's videos of people taking the last shot. It's almost like he's dribbling down. He's looking around, and I just want to do that little thing and have that little fade away and swish it and fall down and have the crowd go wild and have it on tape. So, like, what are you doing? Like, the Celtics are a talented team when they're moving the ball. And when they start doing all this stuff, now let's see, we've got Danielle O'Brien, who says Doncic, and we have this person, Shida, who says Tatum. Oh, so we got one of each so far. So, yeah, it's close. It's close, but I just like the it factor. Doncic seems to have that it factor thing. And you're right, there's nobody around him.
I'm not saying that Tatum can't get the it factor. I don't like how they do it. Why can't Holiday bring the ball up? Why can't White bring the ball up? And then in the meantime, Brown, Porzingis, throwing picks, setting screens, getting things cutting, find the open man. Now, if Tatum gets the ball that way and takes the shot at the end, let's see what happens there. I just don't like how they set it up. It's saying, okay, guys, we call timeout. Let's get in the huddle. Give Jason the ball. Everybody clear out, and let's go. If they're saying that in the huddle, there is an issue, because that should not be happening in the NBA when you have 4 other great players on your team. And once he got double teamed, Paul, find the open man. Why couldn't he have done that? He could have easily gone to Porzingis inside, or whoever that guy that came over to double, find that guy and get him to the basket and take the shot. Because that would tell me even more of a leader that he's trying to be, because he got doubled and he found the open man. They need to be better down the stretch, because there's going to be games in the playoffs where it's going to come to that. Not one every 15 games or 20 games where you're going to get one of those times, because they had won 11 in a row and it wasn't even a close games. This happened to be one here, which they blew a 20-point lead. That's another thing to worry about. Well, that's happened a few times this year as well.
Again, you can be cold and miss 6 or 7 shots in a row and then hit a couple at the end. But if you look back at that game, the thing that was really irritating too was Tatum was cold in the fourth quarter, whereas these other players like Holiday had a nice basket on a nice pass from Porzingis, I believe.
Well, I thought Porzingis was playing well.
Porzingis was playing well.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday was playing well, and Brown was there in the fourth quarter. They never gave him the ball.
Mhm.
So then Tatum is missing all kind of shots, and then it comes out, well, this is my team. I got to take the last shot. Why? Why do you have to take the last shot? You
That's
know,
coaching. That's
when
coaching.
everybody, that's the perfect time to have somebody else take it. When everybody thinks you're going to take it,
Coaching.
and then you give it to that guy, you know what I mean? I just don't understand it. But anyway, what do you think out there in the Santos on Sports audience? Give us a call at 774-762-6234. If you were going to start a team and you had to choose between Doncic and Tatum, come on now, let's be truthful. We're all like, rooting for the Celtics up here in New England. But let's be truthful. That kid down there in Dallas, I got to tell you, Chris Santos and Paul Santos agree that it's Doncic. And now Leonard Montengro, he says, a good friend of mine works with New Bedford Guide and stuff. He says Doncic.
Mhm.
So there you go. And the thing that's unfortunate from the NBA perspective, you mentioned it before, it's really too bad that Doncic is on a terrible team. I don't know what they're doing down there. Bringing in Kyrie Irving. Are you kidding me? They have no size. And really, Doncic has to put the team on his back every single night. Really bad for the NBA because, these young stars like Tatum, like Doncic, you get Jokic over there is a little older, but he's, obviously in his prime. You want the top players in the league to be on teams that have a chance to win the championship, like, say, Giannis. Most of these other teams have, like, supporting cast. Doncic's got nothing there. You know what I mean? There's nothing there. So it's really unfortunate for the league because the kid's talented. He's fun to watch. And it's just too bad that they can't get him some help down there in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other great players out there. I mean, Giannis is such a great player. How about the new kid in San Antonio? He'll be rookie of the year. He's been outstanding. They're rebuilding all over the place down in Texas. So San Antonio's another team where if they can get another couple of prospects to go with Riambi, they're going to be very good in the future too. So, Dallas is in 8th place right now, ahead of the Lakers, ahead of Golden State, and with just that guy as their superstar. And so it goes to show how great he is and how big of a one-person show that the Dallas Mavericks have.
Well, you see, Lisa Corrido was talking about Wemby.
Yep.
That's that 7 foot. How tall is that kid? He's like ridiculously
7'4", maybe something like that.
But he can move like somebody smaller.
Yeah, skinny, runs, physical, and he's only going to get better. He's only going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. And already what he's doing, leading in blocks and rebounds, and he's talented. A lot of talent.
That's what Luka needs. Imagine Luka with a guy like that, with that kind of size. There's no like inside outside. Now that the Celtics have Porzingis, but he's got to stay healthy. He's like a walking, glass house. But if you can keep him healthy, when Porzingis is in there, it's almost like that's what could put the Celtics over the top because of that ability to go inside. I mean, they don't go inside with him a lot. He takes a lot of outside shots, but the ability to has that threat down low that they didn't seem to have before, that I think is really the key to the Celtics' success.
Yeah, and that's where you put Brown with him or you put Tatum with him. You play a two-man game, inside, outside. You figure out how to work that. Pick and rolls, can use that all the time, especially with him, and create havoc on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, it would be nice, to see Dallas have some more players, San Antonio have some more players. But right now, this focus has to be the big three, and those big three need to stay healthy and be ready to go down the stretch in Porzingis, Tatum, and Brown.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing over here. We have somebody put Trump in there. No, we're doing sports over here. Save that for talk radio. But anyway, Lisa was trying to imagine Luka and the Joker. Oh my God, that would just be brutal. And she says that she loves Tatum, but she says Luka is special. I just think that, we talk about the it factor. There's just something about certain players in the big moments, and obviously in football, we're talking about Tom Brady, Mahomes, he marched that team down the field in that last possession. I'm like, wow, this guy, you got to give it to him. You got to tip your cap to a guy like that. Well, I don't know. Lucas seems to have that more than Tatum does. Tatum, hey, look, they can still win the championship, but I think if the Celtics win the championship, I think it's going to be as much about the surrounding cast that it is about Tatum, even though he's so talented.
They were talking about this on Felger and Maz today about clutch time. And I told you 32.6 percentage. And from 3 points, he's only at 30%. And they were comparing him to a Kobe Bryant situation where Kobe Bryant took 115 shots at ends of games to win, and he only made like 34% of maybe 34 out of 115 or 40 out of 115. It was like 34%. And they were talking about how overrated Kobe was come clutch time because of stats like that. So even though we know how good Kobe was, but you can be a front runner and be out there and score a lot of points compared to, as you're talking, Paul, it factor when we need it down the stretch. Can you do it time and time again? And some guys can, sometimes a little bit struggle. So Felger and Maz were on that, and that was the topic before we came on the air today around 4 o'clock. I was listening to that.
I listen to him all the time, but today I was busy and I didn't get to hear him. But, I got to tell you, you had the stats there. The stats are not too favorable to Tatum. All I can tell you is I watched the game with the eyeball test. And if you watch enough games, after a while, you start to think, wow, this guy seems to always come through when you need him. And then, wow, this guy always seems to miss it at the end, or this guy strikes out with the bases loaded. This guy hits a home run, or this guy can march it down the field and this guy can't, or this guy tightens up. Look at Manning. Peyton Manning, as fantastic as he was, when he got in some of those playoff games, I don't know, he just wasn't the same. Whereas Tom Brady could escalate his game. So that's just the way it is. Some athletes are able to elevate, some aren't. So far, I haven't seen it in Tatum. I mean, we have a running joke, you and I. I'm sitting there like, oh, here it comes. Here comes the last shot, clank. And then it happens at halftime, too. Sometimes at the end of the half, it's the same thing, dribble the ball, pound it into the court, Here it comes, clank, I'm thinking sooner or later, the ball is this big and the hoop is this big. Sooner or later, even if he's, throws an off-balance shot, sooner or later it's going to go in, you would think. But it's like every single time, here it comes, clank, come on, man,
Well, to me, it's that every single time that you talk about that it's the same thing. See, that's what I want to see change from the Celtics and Missoula. And to me, that's coaching. And the coaching needs to step in and say, okay, it's not isolation. It's not everybody clear out behind the three-point line. We're going to put Tatum at the top of the key and let him do his thing. I don't want that. I'm tired of seeing that. It's not working. So if you're listening, Joe, change it because it's already getting sickening. Because when Paul Santos is realizing it, we know we're all realizing it. So let's get it out of there and let's run a play and set some screens and picks and go to the basket more. Maybe get a foul, go to the free throw line. Just do something different than what we've been seeing. That's all I care about. And if he doesn't make it, okay. Or he dishes off, whatever. But there has to be a change than what we've been seeing because it's not working.
Okay, I think you're right. So what would you like to see? Describe a play that you would like to see.
Well, first, I would like to see either White or Holiday bring up the ball. Once they get past midcourt, now I want to see Porzingis or Brown set picks or Tatum set picks, and then guy come off the screen, get the ball there. Now or now you lob it in low. Now you have a two-man game, pick and roll game with Porzingis and Brown or Porzingis and Tatum or Tatum and Brown, whatever it is. And you try to make something happen in there. And then if you decide to come around the screen and you get the ball, if you're going to the basket, great. They come to double you, find that open man, take the shot. I trust all five of those guys or they wouldn't be out there. So trust them. And that's what you've been doing all year during the regular season, making good plays and trusting your other people. So do the same thing down the stretch and not be just isolation, spread it out one-on-one and expect the fadeaway to go in. It's just not working. Something else has to change.
All right, the question of the day, if you were to start a team and you had to pick between Doncic or Tatum, who would you pick? Would it be Tatum? Would it be Doncic? 774-762-6234. We have a call on the line, and let's see if we can get an opinion. It's Nelson from Fall River. Hello.
Yes. Hello, gentlemen.
How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great. And the answer to that question is very simple. Even though Tatum has a lot of talent and he's up and coming, I got to go with the other one.
Got to go with Doncic.
Yes. He's not afraid to go to the basket, draw the fouls, and get the points in the clutch time. Because that's where a lot of games are either won or lost. going to the basket and then making your free throws. You can't be. I'm not saying Tatum is not I'm not saying he's afraid to go to the basket, but he's going to have to produce. Those numbers are not good in the clutch. That's not going to work in the playoffs. So,
all right, you know what? Let me ask Chris a question because he was talking about Boston Talk Radio. I didn't hear it today, but I did hear it yesterday. And there was one thing that was interesting. They were criticizing Tatum taking the last second shot and all that. It turns out when Tatum goes to the basket, he's one of the top players in the league going to the basket.
Top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5
well,
in the league. 81% when he goes to the basket, he will score. 81%. Now, out of those 46 clutch shots, how many of them have been as he's going to the basket? I'd have to look that one up, and I'm sure it's not even close. It's probably like maybe 3 out of 46. So that would be better for him to at least attempt. And as Nelson just said, that's why Doncic is a little bit more physical. He gets fouled, but he can absorb the hit and still make some shots, which Tatum, is not as big. And so he struggles a little bit more there. But I'd still like to see him get to the basket.
Yeah, it's almost like he wants to win the game on the step back fadeaway.
Right.
Because it looks cool. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, man. What? He wants to do the Steph Curry kind of thing, chewing, and then dance away from the game-winning swish. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it. What do you think, Nelson?
I agree. Michael Jordan has the most infamous last game ever shot of his career in the Utah Jazz. But that type of stuff, you save it for like those moments, fadeaways and playoff.
Yeah, now wait a minute. Now that shot with Michael Jordan, he drove to the basket. He took the shot at the free throw line, if you remember.
Yeah,
at the free throw line. That's how close he was. He wasn't fading away from 18, 20 feet. He was facing the basket and going toward the basket. And that's what I want to see more of straight up, because he had a mismatch against Cleveland. Tatum did, and he had a chance to go to the basket. He changed his mind, and he went with the fadeaway, as Paul said, and that's what he's got to do better. Face up, straight up, beat the man over the top, and take the shot if you're going to do that.
And I think the game the other night, he had a mismatch, too.
He did, and Felger and Maz was saying, and as I saw, he had the first step on the guy, and they all thought he was going to go to the basket. And then he changed his mind, and he turned his back, and then he went back to that fadeaway and fall down. And obviously, they looked at the review and the review to see if he touched them on the arm and all that. But Jordan didn't do that. Jordan shots are more of, I face up to the basket. I got away from the guy. Now, of course, Michael gives that little left arm comes out a little bit, but everybody does that too. So even Tatum did it for that fadeaway shot. The left arm clears out a little bit. That's how it works.
I just want to shift gears real quick to another sport, football, even though it's an off season.
Yeah. What do you think?
Patriots fans are, saying that Mahomes is never going to rise to the level of Brady. Listen, do you want to know why that fan base is feeling all salty now? It's because they know they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl for a long time. Hell, I'll probably be retired on Social Security by the time they go back to the playoffs or the Super Bowl.
And if you're on Social Security, I'm going to be pushing up daisies, I think.
Belichick's gone. Brady's gone. Both of you guys will probably be just still living life older and say, look, they still haven't made it. That's why they need to lay off Mahomes. He's up and coming.
All right.
And he is, generating some good stats. And is he on Brady's level? Not yet. But if he continues this up and stays healthy and keeps winning, he'll be knocking on the door for sure.
Tom Brady's not walking through that door.
No, he's not. No, Tom Brady, Belichick, they're never coming back. Patriots fans, get used to it.
Get used to
watching the playoffs on TV.
All right, Nelson. Hey, thanks a lot for calling. We appreciate it.
All
right, I just wanted to say I changed my phone service here. It used to be Verizon. I'm not promoting any one over the other, but there was a package through Xfinity, so I switched over to Xfinity, and I've been having a lot of problems getting things hooked up over here. So if you give me a call, Nelson said that he tried to call and it went straight to voicemail. So if that happens, just send me a text and then I'll get you on the line. But give us a call here at 774-762-6234. Before we pick up on that, Chris, I just wanted to mention one of our regular callers, Mark from Chicago, had a little bit of a medical bump in the road, but he's doing well now. We want to shout out to Mark. We really enjoy your support of Santos on Sports. We're glad you got through your little medical bump in the road. And we're really happy that you're doing well, you and your family. So all the best to you.
If he's listening to this, if he's listening and watching, get well soon, my friend, and get back to calling us and letting us know how you really feel. So hope nothing but the best and a speedy recovery.
Well, he's heard me criticize Tatum. Mm-hmm. So the last time we were on, I think Tatum missed a last second shot, So he was saying, oh yeah, you're always saying that he's going to clink that last shot. Boy, I hope he was watching that game the other night. He's probably thinking, wait till I see Santos. Yep. But anyway, hey, it happens. One of these days it'll go in. But anyway, 774-762-6234. Give us a call. And I'm looking at Lisa here.
Yeah.
And she writes in the comment line, she says, I have both of their rookie cards. Now, if she's referring to Doncic and Tatum, wow, that's pretty good. You better hang on to those suckers.
I may have to kind of convince her to see what she wants, how much she wants for those. But she probably won't sell them because she knows they're going to skyrocket. So she's probably smart to hold on to them.
Well, you see in the background there, that's only a tiny glimpse of the Chris Santos. What do you call that? The man cave.
Yeah.
Maybe some night we'll have Chris get his iPhone and that place is like a museum. I mean, between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Baltimore Orioles, there's all kinds of memorabilia down there and everything. I mean, if you took all the stuff that's in Chris Santos' man cave, it's got to be worth a few coin there, a little bit of coin.
In that case, Lisa can just, tell me what she wants for those cards, and it'll be a nice addition right into my place down here. So anytime, that would be fun. But to get back to Nelson, I agree with the Doncic thing because I like his size. I like his physicality. He's got a great shot, a little bit of everything. Again, not afraid to go to the basket, handle that situation very, very well. As for the football talk, I get the, why the people around here about the comparison with Mahomes and Brady. Listen, it's very simple. You're New England fans. You want to, for the rest of your life, go down as we had the best player in the NFL of all time. I get it. It makes perfect sense. So are you going to argue against Mahomes? Absolutely. And that's what New England fans are going to do. They'll recognize Mahomes, but they'll never say that he'll be ever better than Tom Brady, and probably shouldn't. But Mahomes' future is still in doubt of how well he's going to finish up his career. So I would wait on that. But at the same time, I understand what Nelson's saying and what the New England fans are doing around here. Makes perfect sense.
Well, we did a whole show on that. So you're looking to kill some time and you go back. We asked that question about, are you rooting against Mahomes? I asked the Patriots fans, are you rooting against Mahomes? And a lot of them were. And I got to tell you, I'm a big Patriots fan, but it got to the point where I found it such a nuisance that I actually wanted Kansas City to win just because I'm looking at this kid. I'm like, hey, this kid's exciting. He's fun. He seems to carry himself pretty well on and off the field. He's a good, face of the NFL along with some of these other players. And so, I don't know, I just enjoyed watching them come back and win. And that was a great Super Bowl. That was as good a Super Bowl as I can remember. That's one of the great ones of all time, to go into overtime like that. And the way the new overtime rules were, where both teams got the ball and both teams scored. One got the field goal, but then, Mahomes came down and won with Kansas City. I mean, it was fantastic. And so I don't agree with that. I don't agree with rooting against Mahomes because I don't want him to be in the conversation with Brady.
And before those young guys came up, who's the face of the NFL, Paul?
Well, it seemed like there was a little, it was Tom Brady and, the Patriots and all that,
That's
of course.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Just Tom Brady, the face of the NFL. What are they looking for now? They're looking for a new face. Right. This is the new face. This is exciting. This is a young up-and-coming runner, thrower, does everything, and that's what they want to see of the new NFL, which is more about passing and scoring than anything else. Because take a look at running backs. Nobody's paying for running backs, and running backs are like needle in a haystack nowadays. So they could care less. It's about catching the ball, throwing the ball, and scoring more points. That's what the NFL wants. Who's the new face? Patrick Mahomes.
Well, you see, Nelson, he also brought up something that was kind of painful. We here in New England, we've really been spoiled. All four teams winning championships over the last 20 years. Even the Bruins and the Celtics got one in there. And of course, the Red Sox had 4 and the Patriots with their 6. And so it got ridiculous. Every other year there was a parade. So now, the Patriots are really in a rebuilding situation, having, only won 4 games last year. And Nelson is saying, hey, you guys get used to it. You're going to be on Social Security. Well, for me, Social Security is only a couple of years away anyway. But he's saying he's going to be on Social Security. I think he's a young guy. He's like, I'm going to be on Social Security before the Patriots ever win another Super Bowl. When you got to start from the bottom and go all the way to the top and try to compete with some of these teams that are out there, it really does feel like, hey, you know what? Reality check time, like Butch said, this could be a pretty uphill battle. It's going to take a long time.
Well, I mean, and that's fine, because that's one organization for 20 years that has done tremendous. And you think about other franchises, what have they done during that time? I mean, just think about how long that run is for, which is almost unheard of. Maybe the Yankees of the 50s or 60s or whatever it was when they went on their big run. The Celtics of the 60s when they went on their little stretch. It doesn't happen, and it's probably not going to happen again for a long time for a particular city and their sports teams to make that jump for that period of time. So when you get it, enjoy it, follow it, because it gets to a certain point where some cities it only lasts 5 years, some cities it only lasts 8 years, and then you don't see them again. This happened to be one of the longest runs of 20 years of doing what you did and getting there and going for it every year. So enjoy the ride. And that's what New England fans did. But you got to be realistic. It doesn't happen like that. It goes away because people get old and you move on and you got to replace it. And franchises, have to find a way to work around it. And that's what New England's, starting to do in these last couple of years.
Well, hopefully the Bruins and the Celtics will give us some pleasure here in the springtime, especially the Celtics, because, I think talent-wise, a pretty good argument that they might be the best team in the league if you go right through the whole depth and everything. So now it's just a question of whether or not they can pull it off in the big game. The Bruins, hey, they're going through a tough stretch right now, but I'd rather have them go through it now than like what happened last year when the bad stretch happened once the games really started counting. So, hockey's a weird game. Anything can happen. You get the hot goalie, the defenseman in there. I mean, I don't know. To me, any of those teams, whether it's, Boston, Florida, obviously Colorado out west, Edmonton, even Toronto, the Bruins seem to have Toronto's number, but the Rangers, I mean, anybody can beat anybody, I think, once the playoffs start. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, now playoff hockey is a little bit different, obviously, than regular season, Paul. And we've seen that already. But the thing about the Bruins this year, they're not getting blown out. They're losing the overtime losses. Mm-hmm. They're up to 15 or 16, which is leading the league, which is almost unheard of. So that's where fans are. Well, don't forget, they're like, 42, 13, and 16, which is kind of like, wow, that's like almost unheard of. So it's down the stretch where you're in a playoff game, and you get to overtimes when we've seen, like from last year when they played Florida and other teams, they were going to overtime a lot. That's what makes me nervous, because they've been losing a lot of overtime games because they've been getting there. So it's not like they're getting blown away. It's just a matter of, can they finish off teams when they get in that situation.
All right, 774-762-6234. If you'd like to get into the discussion here on Santos on Sports, just to finish up on the Bruins for a moment, they're thinking about getting rid of one of the goalies, probably Ullmark, to try to get a big defenseman in there. I think they should do that. I don't think the rotating goalies will work. And if you're looking at Ullmark versus, Swayman, I think Swayman has a better chance of getting hot and really coming through in the big moment than Ullmark does. Ullmark is great regular season and then kind of been a flop in the playoffs. But I wanted to mention to you too, look at the Florida Panthers. They're nasty. I remember last year, people were like, oh, that's a big upset. The Bruins choked against this. That Florida team, I didn't like that matchup. I've said it 100 times. I'll say it again. And look at them now. Florida's ahead of them in the standings. I mean, Florida, they're tough. They're tough. They were no joke when they beat the Bruins. And I never looked at that as like it was some kind of big upset or something.
Absolutely not. No, the year before that, they were very good
President's
as well.
Trophy.
Yeah.
President's Trophy the year before.
Absolutely. So with Kachuk, Reinhart, they got some players there that can really turn it up. So, the trade deadline is coming up. A couple of teams have already made some moves. I know Hannafin went to Vegas from Calgary. So, that's one big name for a defenseman that the Bruins kind of thought about maybe going to get, but now he's gone. So let's see if they look around somewhere else. And if not, then, are you going to stay with some of these young guys and see if they can perform when it comes to the playoffs? Or are you going to go out and get a veteran out there that someone might say, hey, this could be a good pickup and put him in the top 6 up front and help out?
All right. Lisa's commenting here, and we thank you for your comments. She's saying how we were very lucky to have all those years, all those championships over the last 20 years. No question about it. And in terms of the question, who's a little bit better right now, Tatum or Doncic? Are both great players, both very talented young players in the NBA. But right now, Doncic seems to be leading in the discussion so far. Eric Machado says he's not sure it's even close. He says, I love Tatum, but Luka is better. I don't know if I would say it's not close.
Right.
I think Luka seems to have that clutch it factor. That's true. But in terms of the game itself, what do you think about defensively? I think I heard one analyst say that they'd like to see Doncic play a little bit better defensively.
That is correct. And that's another thing that I like about Tatum and I like about this team. It's amazing that you can be almost in the top 3 in defensive categories and a defense as a team, and yet blow 20-point leads. That's kind of strange to me, but that's what's been happening to them. But yes, Tatum's been one of the better defensive players. Doncic is more of, hey man, I want the ball and get on the offense side of it. So that's why, again, Dallas is in 8th place, and he's kind of all alone. Besides, having Irvin with him, who's missed 15 games along the way. I don't even know too many of the other guys, maybe Hardaway Jr. Or somebody else on that team, but nothing that really writes about. But yet they're in 8th place because probably Doncic is averaging 35 and 10 per game. So pretty impressive.
It would be interesting to see what Doncic would do if he had all this talent around him because when you're watching the game, he basically gets the ball every time. Like he has the ball. Like I'm watching the game. I swear to God, I don't have any statistics in front of me. But again, the eyeball test, doesn't it feel like he has the ball all the time? Like they get a rebound, he gets the ball. He gets a rebound, he gets the ball. So I'm thinking, all right, if he had some help, hey, that would be great. But you'd wonder whether or not he'd be able to relinquish some of that ball control time.
Well, see, now that would be more of what Tatum's going through. So let's say Brown and Porzingis wasn't there, and it was just Tatum and you had some of them other guys. Wouldn't you think Tatum's results would be a little bit higher as well? Yes. Because he would be the guy they would have to go to like all the time. And you would say the same thing. Look at how many times, he's got the ball. So when you see 3 guys in the 20s and Porzingis has 26, Tatum's got 24 and Brown's got 22, imagine if that wasn't there, you would think that Tatum would be in the mid-30s. So that's what Doncic is going through right now. And if he had himself some teammates around him, I don't think he would be doing 35 and 10. That would probably change some and be a little bit different. Maybe, again, high 20s and maybe a little bit lower in the rebounding. But, yeah, it depends on what kind of team, you have surrounding you. And that's just the way it is for both of those guys.
A lot of times you hear analysts just putting out that points per game stat, Chris Santos is averaging 30 points per game and, Paul Santos is averaging 28 points per game. Yeah, well, you can almost, I'm not going to say you throw that out, but if one player is on a weaker team, he's going to have more points and the other player is going to have less if he's got talent around him. And so really you can't just go by that. You have to go by all of those, other factors, all those variables, which you like to talk about. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, even like Andrew Torres commenting, he's worrying about the Celtics being tough, down the stretch. And, if you're getting punched in the face and the team takes the lead, where's the fight in you to kind of keep it going? And at the end of the game, they need to stop playing isolation basketball. Well, we talked about that at the beginning of the program and somewhere in the middle as well. But, when you play defense in a regular season and now you play defense in a playoff, that's like hockey, Paul. How you forecheck. How can you get the puck out of your end? We saw that how great Florida was really coming after the Bruins defense and the Bruins causing turnovers. What did we see last year in the Celtics playoffs? Brown turning the ball over. Brown not able to dribble with the left hand. Tatum, team causing 16, 18 turnovers. That's going to be important in the playoffs because the pressure and the intensity gets up during playoff runs.
Well, Andrew Torrey's also said that he's been worried about the Celtics all year because of these close game losses. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm looking at the team. They added Porzingis. That was really great, although he does seem like he misses every other game. So you go into a 7-game series, you can't be missing every other game. You know what I mean? You got to be in there. So you have to hope he stays healthy, right? And they got Holiday in there now. I like the way he plays. DW, he's really good. I like him too, a good supporting cast. Even Horford, they don't have to rely on him as much, so he gets a little time off. And when he comes in, sometimes he's got a little more pep to his step. So I'm looking at the depth of the Celtics. I'm thinking, and a lot of people are saying they have the most talent in the league. But then I'm looking at, okay, they still got to get past, say, Milwaukee. Milwaukee's no joke, right? I mean, if Giannis has a great series and some of the supporting cast there, like Lopez and Lillian and all that, I don't know, they're dangerous, right? Even Philadelphia is dangerous, right? I mean, could you see the Celtics losing to one of those teams? Possible. I mean, the Celtics probably be favored, but, it's possible. Then if, I don't know who's going to come out of the West, the Clippers or Denver again. Now you got to run into the Joker. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that easy at all. I mean, it's never easy to get a championship, but I don't know. I just think that they've got some difficult teams that they have to get past.
I mean, there's still Miami there with Jimmy Butler.
Miami, right.
There's still a young Indiana team that's just wants to score and averaging like 135 a game. They just want to run and gun. So the Celtics want, put up with that. But, anybody can beat anybody when it comes to the playoffs in that one game kind of thing. But, playoffs are usually that 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7, whatever it is, and how they make that work. So we're looking for the long haul that the Celtics can produce, and what we've seen this season, can they make that long run stretches during that time? They've shown that they can when they've gone on the road for like 7 games and they've beaten teams all around and then coming back home and continuing on, things like that. So again, staying healthy, playing that good D that up there in the top 3. And then, of course, down the stretch, can you win close battles? That's the key for me, to not let teams back in, especially when you're on the road and you got a big lead like that.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting because, Miami, right? Andrew's talking about Miami's defense, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Miami's defense. And the other thing, too, is Jimmy Butler, right? So you look at Jimmy Butler during the regular season, and you compare him to, like, say, Tatum or even Brown, and you're like, he's not even close to like a Tatum or Brown as you're going about the season. But then you get into the playoffs, and everything's on the line, and all the chips are on the table, and somebody's going to put the Belingas out there, right? I mean, Jimmy Butler has that kind of it factor. I mean, he seems to come through when the games mean the most.
Well, we've seen it in, at least statistic-wise, in the years that we've watched him, that his game elevates when it comes to the playoffs. And, of course, you're peaking at the right time. You're turning up the heat. And, of course, it's not just Jimmy alone. It's the team where everybody, Bam Adebayo and Hero and the guys that they have really stepping up as a unit to say, hey, listen, this was regular season. Now we're in here. This is how we're going to get even better because now we're going to push the intensity. And when you do that and you start to win a few games, now, it just inspires you and it keeps the flow and it keeps the run. So they can be dangerous, as well as a lot of other teams in this league. I'm just hoping that the Celtics feel the same way once they get to the playoffs.
All right, the question of the day, if you were starting a team and you had to pick between Tatum or Doncic, who would you take? Let's see what Ryan from Rochester has to say. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Doing good. So I've been putting a lot of thought into this, and I'll admit, first off, I was tempted to go Luka here because you talk about him as like just a pure playmaker, and we've seen him make like tough contested like clutch shots before, and but ultimately after doing some more thinking in terms of like the overall complete player, I kind of went Tatum here for a few reasons. Now, obviously, we talk, Paul, you and I talk about it all the time. Like, why are we constantly just having Tatum taking like these fadeaway shots in clutch moments? I'm pretty sure he's like 0 for 17 or what have you, like 0 for 11. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's like insanity. You keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you expect a different result, but the same thing keeps happening. But ultimately, I go Tatum here just because, as much crap as we give him for stuff like that, I feel like he takes the sport a lot more seriously. Like you've seen him over the years, like ever since his rookie year. He's hitting the gym, he's hitting the weight room, he's actively trying to get better, not only as like a scorer, but also as a defender, as a playmaker, passing the ball. I just like he is makeup more than I like Luka's because obviously he's in much better shape this year than he's been in previous years, but you've seen him at times over the past couple of years, like he just kind of looks lazy out there at times. You see him out of shape at times, like, and again he looks a lot leaner and meaner this year, but I just think Tatum takes it more seriously and has put more work into it.
So the maturity level obviously coming up. So it's a tough question, Ryan, because if you're asking, about the Tatum Doncic and Paul's asking who is better, and you're saying that right now, I'm talking more about if I want to start a team, which Paul said, and that would be a little bit younger for me than just right now. So if it's a little bit younger, then I liked what Doncic has done and is the maturity there compared to Tatum that's built Tatum to where he is now. And I think you're right in what he has done and what we've seen transpire from the beginning of his career to now, and what kind of leader he's become, his work ethic, and all that. Absolutely agree. But if I had to start it from the beginning, and obviously that would be more of a younger age, then I was thinking the Doncic way as well. So it's tough. It's a tale of two cities with this one, but I perfectly understand where you're coming from.
Well, Ryan made a good case for Tatum, and I got to tell you, everything he just said is what I thought you were going to say.
Well, yeah, I'm getting it where, Paul, who is better, but you keep talking about the point of if I want to start a team.
Right.
When I want to start a team, I want to start with a point guard, and that's Luka, and that's the shot, that's the assists. I'm getting rebounds out of him, and you're like, I'm getting that many rebounds from a point guard? You've got to be kidding me. But that's what he does. And to start a team, that's the guy that I would probably want to see. But better for now, who's playing it there. Tatum is probably better because he's got better supporting cast, and Doncic doesn't have that. So Doncic has all the statistics because he's by himself. Tatum's got a lot with that, but he's got surrounding players. So it's kind of hard, but I thought it was from the starting point. That's why I went with Doncic.
How about this right here? Does this factor into your analysis?
Yeah, well, obviously it does. And if you're going to put that on my back and you're going to keep using that, hey, Ryan, are you tired of seeing that sign? I think he needs to come up with a new sign.
I'm assuming it's the it factor sign.
Yeah, sure
really,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a good point. And, you talk, Chris, you talk about the supporting cast. You make some good points. And, something I hadn't, thought about is, it's a good point. You probably want to start your team around a point guard type player. And, thinking about it a little further just now, you know, in a sense, like Luka got, you know, kind of some pro experience from, you know, from a very young age. Cause, you know, of course, you know, pro as in like, it's not the NBA in terms of like across the board talent, but he's been playing like professional EuroLeague since he was like 16 years old, what have you.
Correct.
That's a good point. And, you know, if, you know, give Luka this supporting cast, you know, now that I think about it, it might not be too much of a drop off. Like if we're talking this specific supporting cast, like obviously I've talked about, you know, I don't think Luka's a good defender, but you've got guys like, you know, Drew Holiday and Derek White who are really good defenders. Porzingis, who he's played with before, is a good rim protector, and LeBron's a pretty good defender in his own right. So honestly, I wouldn't be mad at starting a team like that with Luka.
Yeah, I mean either one's going to be good. It's very difficult. They're both great superstars. You know, they both want to make a claim to fame that they're the best player in the NBA, and I get all that. As long as they have enough of that upside to carry their teammates and put their, you know, when you need it. And there are times, he's done it, but I need more out of him down the stretch when the game's really on the line. So, you know, if he can make a couple of those and really put it together better than what they're doing in isolation basketball, then I'll be a lot more happier for Jason Tatum.
Now, Ryan, when Tatum clanked that one off the rim the other night, you're thinking to yourself, oh boy, I can hear Santos already.
Which one? Which one?
In my mind, I was waiting for a couple of texts from the group chat. I'll admit, but mainly it was just got some PTSD going from, you know, not only like further to the beginning of the season, but this past year, I'm like, okay, we're really reverting back to this BS again.
Yeah.
And it, you know, if it were like a nip and tuck game and it ended like that, that's one thing. But it was a 20-point game. You should have in the fourth quarter. You should have had that in the bag.
Does anything worry you about the Celtics going into the playoffs? Chris and I were bouncing around. Well, you know, Miami can be tricky, and of course you're going to get past Giannis, and you know Philadelphia, they can be tough, and if you get into the finals out west, you got, you know, the Clippers coming in, and maybe you have obviously the Joker. I don't know. There is a little bit to worry about, even though people are predicting like, hey, it's championship or bust.
I 100% agree with that. And, you know, first of all, the thing I'm worried about, exactly what we just saw against the Cavs. That's number one. And two, you know, I feel like the way that they've been, you know, smoking teams as of late, my fear is that they might go into, you know, the 8th seed series, whoever it is, and, you know, kind of overlook teams just a little bit. So, you know, I'm not saying that they're going to, you know, lose to the 8th seed or anything, but, you know, a series like, okay, you should win this series in 4. It might end up going 5 or 6 unnecessarily. And then, of course, if you do that against Miami, you're screwed because they've got the best guy we got a guy in Jimmy Butler who has the most killer instinct out of anyone in the playoffs. So, and then of course, even though the defense has gotten better, I will give him that. I still think they're susceptible to having games with a whole lot of lapses. Like, again, like we just saw against Cleveland. Like how many times, how many threes are you going to let up?
Yeah, that's the one that worries me because when you're up by 20, I'm sitting back and I'm talking to I had my tennis team surrounding me and we're watching the game. And I told every one of these guys, I said, right now, you must defend the 3. And they all said, why, coach? And I said, because how else are you going to come back in a game when you're down by 20? You're going to take threes. It's as simple as that. You might get a 2 here and there, but most of the time you're going to take threes. I think they hit 6 threes and a slam dunk. And the next thing you know, it was even. And I'm looked at my teammate. I'm saying, why can we not defend the 3? I can't understand it. And I'm not really a basketball guy, but if I can see it, why can't they see it and say, hey, we got to get the ball out of their hand and get it inside. And hopefully our matchup one-on-one defense can hold off, you know, a 2-point shot compared to always giving up the 3. They made this guy Wade look like he was Steph Curry out there. Guy was hitting threes from everywhere.
Making Dean Wade look like the original D Wade, the Miami version. And you mentioned defending the 3. How about you know, maybe make some adjustments when you're clanking all these threes, stop just hucking them up. Like the thing is, I like the game that back in Dallas. I think it was a couple of games ago where they weren't hitting the ball from three, so they adapted and got most of the points from the paint. If you're clanking all these threes in the fourth quarter, get some. You have the number one post-up player in the NBA, in Kristaps Porzingis. Get his big ass in the block.
All right, before we let you go, we only have a few minutes left. What would you do if you were the Patriots? You're going to grab one of those quarterbacks at number 3. You're going to trade it down. You're going to do something else. I mean, it's a long way to go before the Patriots have to make that decision. But I'm just wondering what your inclination might be.
So my inclination there is only if you're like 1,000% in love with one of these prospects at number 3, because at this point to me it's like a coin flip as to who goes number 2 overall between Jaden Daniels and Drake May to Washington. It's a coin flip there. So I would take a quarterback only if you're absolutely 1,000% like, okay, this guy is a franchise quarterback. This guy is going to change our future for the next 10, 15 years, give or take.
Yeah, but history shows that teams that do that, they're never 1,000% sure. You can't tell for some reason. All the scouting in the world, these people get paid all kind of money. They study, they look at film, they look at all this stuff, and they still can't get it right half the time.
Yeah, I know, and hopefully, Elliot Wolf coming from the Green Bay Packers, like they know a thing or two about scouting quarterbacks and taking quarterbacks. But my thing is this: if there's any sort of hesitation as to who's at 3, see if you have a team who's willing to give up a haul to get up there. Like, so let's just say if it's Drake May at number 3, the Giants really like Drake May. They want to give you hey, here's next year's first and maybe a second and another first after that. Trade up. Like, okay, we'll do that. I'd say grab a tackle, because I'm not entirely sure that the pass is gonna land Tyron Smith. Although supposedly they're gonna try and pursue him, but I'm not sure. Trade down, see if you can get a haul of picks if you're not 100% sure on one of these guys, and then go from there. I guess I would personally try taking one of these quarterbacks, and whoever they take, whether it's Daniels or it's Drake May. I don't want the kid starting year 1 because the roster is so bare. It is so bare that you're especially on the offensive line. You don't have a tackle under contract right now. If you roll out a number 3 overall rookie there year 1, he's going to get killed.
Absolutely. Hey, Ryan, thanks a lot for that insightful summary, and we'll talk to you again soon.
No problem. Thanks for having me on again,
Thanks,
guys.
Ryan.
All right, Ryan from Rochester. Yeah, that's certainly a hot topic. I mean, it's fun talking football because, hey, you can talk football any time of the year. There's always something going on. So I know it's kind of early. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this. I mean, I'm kind of torn, I do like the guy from Green Bay that they have. He seems to be pretty good at making these picks, and they built Green Bay pretty well. And San Francisco kind of did it that way. You just kind of trade and get a lot of picks. But, grabbing one of those quarterbacks, it's just such an inexact science.
Absolutely. You got to take your chances, and you think that it's going to happen. Now, I agree with Ryan in how to start a young man if you decide to take him at 3. Does that mean you go out and get a Flacco? Does that mean you go out and attempt to get a Russell Wilson for a cheaper price or whatever, or like a Kirk Cousins or whatever? And, you have to find a way to get some veteran leadership to mold this young man. Not just throw him in the fire. And, even when CJ Stroud did it, that's a once in a lifetime chance that worked out that way. I don't know if these guys are like that. But then again, are the Celtics like Carolina and sit back and say, well, we tried it with Bryce Young here in Carolina and look what happened to him. Did they ruin him? Or is he going to come back and still be okay? So are the Patriots doing the same thing here if they decide to go in that route? It's a big step. That's why they got a lot of heads to put together and say, this is how we're going to do it. So we'll see come April or even before then, because remember, free agency is next week.
Well, rumor has it that Mac Jones is going to be shipped out of town. But, Bailey Zappi, he thinks he's going to go in there and compete for that job. He's like, hey, I can get this job. I'm going out there. I won a few games here and there. I got a winning record. I'm going in there. Bailey Zappi, Zappi fever. Could it make a comeback here?
Well, he has to think that. I mean, how can you not? You can say, hey, listen, I was 2-2 for you, or 4-4, whatever his record was. I won some games for you. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. I'm a competitor. I was okay. Maybe you can say I was better than Mac. and I'm going to try to do what I can for this team to get the starting job. So what else can you say? You have to say it like that. Got to believe in yourself.
All right. Well, thank you to those who commented today. We had a lot of fun, and those who called, I can tell I was having some phone issues because some of the people that were calling, it was going straight to voicemail. So I got to make sure I speak to my folks at Xfinity. I changed over from Verizon to Xfinity after I got my last cable bill. And I don't know, we're still in the working the bugs out stage.
Okay.
So thank you for those calls that came in. And thank you for those who commented. And we'd like to take the opportunity to thank Attorney John Seed, attorney at law, 156 8th Street, New Bedford. And you can check out his website at johnseedlaw.com. Our other sponsor is Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville. You can play tennis and pickleball. Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. And Citywide Glass, with 3 locations to serve you at 425 State Road in Dartmouth, additional locations in Fall River and Taunton. Any final thoughts there, Chris?
Well, this weekend's going to be kind of quiet, and then the following week, free agency starts. NHL trade deadlines around the corner. So I'm going to be looking at those two right there to see which free agent's going to pick up and who's going to be trading in the NHL. And a special shout out and a rest in peace to who I thought was a good analysis in Chris Mortensen, who passed away at 72 years old this past weekend. So NFL guru when it came to they're going to miss him during the combines and the scouting.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again for those who contributed today. We appreciate you looking in and your support of Santos on Sports. As Chris said, there's going to be a lot of action over the next couple of weeks. So the next time that we are on, we're going to have all kinds of things to talk about with the Bruins and the Celtics and even the Patriots and see what's and the Red Sox. The Red Sox will be starting opening day right around the corner. Can you believe that?
Sure.
So for Chris Santos, I'm Paul Santos. Thank you very much for looking in on Santos on Sports, and we'll talk to you again real soon.